Welcome back to the stream, everyone, and tonight we are adding to our creature comforts for the players, and I have added a slider for our bluff strength, which you can see here. And if we look in the designer, here is our bluff strength. We have also added it to our save options, and we have also added it where we need to in the player controllers. Okay, so in the first instance, what we're going to do is we're going to delete our save games, and we are going to run it to see if it actually works. Now, I haven't implemented it yet into the game, but we can do that. So you can see the blur, and you can see there's no blur. We can see the blur, and we can see there's no blur. Okay, so there we have it. Now, the interesting thing there was the fact that I can move the camera around, which we do not want. So, what we want to do is we want to fix that, right? So that's the FE controller, and that's the actual controller. Now, the really strange thing is that this actual controller hasn't got anything attached to it that makes it should move. Okay? The only thing that I can think of that actually makes this move is the C++ class underneath it. Okay? That is the only thing that can be moving our camera. Because as you can see, there's absolutely zero for moving the camera. Now, that would suggest, if we look in the world settings, it's the default pawn. Except there is no default pawn. Okay, so I am under the impression now that we need to create a pawn. So we shall call it, I'm just getting bitten alive here by mosquitoes, pawn. And now it's landing on my ear, which is awesome. So if we go to GM main menu, right, we shall change default pawn class to pawn. Right, and then what we'll do is we'll press play again, and it doesn't do anything, which is exactly what we want. Okay. So that's all cool. Right, I'll check this again. Isn't moving. Excellent. And so we are good. And we shall exit that. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we need to go into our different we go into building details, and we have set up our blur. Right, we've set up all, earlier on I set up all the background blurs, right, and I also set up the function library function. Not that we needed to do it here, but since we're setting up everything else in here, it kind of makes sense. Right, and in here we say strength, get blur strength, and we put it in there. Then we should be able to copy this. Right, and we should be able to put it in here. You'll notice that we've got our blur set up. So we can copy and paste it in there. Then we can add it to there. Save that. Then we've got our inventory, and we can do the exact same thing here. Okay, so we do that. Then we pop it in here. And we can save that. So we've done all of them, and now we need the not the options, but we need the trading one, right? So if we go to trading main, we've already done that. Okay, so that's all of our info panels done, and now we can basically check it. right? So if we set the blur strength to nothing, then do back, yes. I'll tell you what I'm going to do first though, right? We'll do that again. Well, actually, it's already saved at this point, so we're okay with that. We'll save all, then we'll press play. Then we'll press continue. And that's not going to have anything on it, so we can do this. Then we can press I, and you'll see that there's no blur. We can press open this, and there's no blur. We can open this, and there's no blur. Now what we can do is we can restart it, and we actually need to load it at this point. And do our sort of wacky colours again. Okay. I'm getting eaten alive by mosquitoes here. So we can continue that. And we do our building. We hit inventory, and you can see we've now got a blur. If we do our trading, we've got a blur. Right, so that's all looking good. That's got the blur. Now, the only thing that wasn't working there was the fact that this wasn't loading in the options. Right? So we definitely need to load it in, or set up the defaults, right? And this is set up display colors. So we can stick it in here. So basically we do this. And we set the value. And the value is going to come from get controller. It's going to be save game ref. And this is going to be the blur strength. Get blur strength. So we shall just tidy all of this up a bit. That's going to go in there. We'll drag it over here a bit. And we'll drag that up there a bit. Should probably align this to the right. Then we can drag it up a bit. And that's us basically for the blur strength. Right? So if we look at it now, we can see what we've got for the creature comforts for the player as far as changing the display. So in the main menu, they can change the mouse over colour, right? Let's make that a darker blue, right? Then they've got this that they can change. We can change the colour of the button to, I don't know, purple. Purple sounds like a good colour, I suppose. Then we can obviously change this, the border colour, and we'll make that a darker blue. And then we can change the blur strength. We'll test this out. We'll move it down to 0. Okay, that. Then we continue. And now you'll see that there's no blur. Right? We've got our lovely colours that we absolutely wanted. Not. Right? So we're getting our lovely colours. Now this one here, what we can do is, yeah, just to prove the point, to make sure everything's working, is we can go back into the game colours, we can adjust the blur strength back up, put it there. That gives us, you see, a bit of a blur. That gives us even more of a blur. We can OK that. Then we can continue. And if we press inventory now, you can see that we have a blur. Okay, it blurs out our stuff. So that's what we want. And what I did earlier was, with the button, what I basically did was made the unhovered an alpha of 0.5 and the hovered the full alpha of 1. So it's still got that colour, but it looks like you're highlighting it, right? So we can also have a look at that, and I'll show you that working, because you maybe didn't catch that. Right, let's go back to here, colours, and on the info panel we'll change the button colour to, let's say, a nice garish green, and then we'll continue, and you'll see here that, you know, you get that nice effect. And that can be all, the colour can be changed for the player. So for example, they can totally change the colour scheme here. So if they wanted to basically do this, right? Say they wanted this to be red, the normal colour to be white. So they get that. Then in here, we could do the border colour as like a really red. They could do this as like a lighter red. And the button, you know, it could be moving towards purple a bit, I suppose. Then in the build and select, they could make that red again, and they could make this like a lighter type of red. Back, okay, that. And when they continue now, you know, they've got this red colour, and basically they've got the red here and the red here. We're slightly sort of in the red here. And then in So they can basically swap it around, right, to whatever colour they want. Then, so this is good. Now, what we actually need here is another button, which is going to be like a exit the game button, right? Now, what I might do is move this to some sort of info panel or something that we might do. So what I'm actually thinking here is, if we made this shape, right, this shape here, and then cut it off, and then reversed it, we could make some sort of a panel out of that, a button sort of image out of that. And then we could do another one of these for the exit button. What do you guys think in the chat? Let me know. So anyway, yeah, this is all working. And we can rename the buildings. We did that earlier today. So the question on my mind is, what am I going to do next? Because everything is kind of working. And the only thing we can really do is I'll tell you what we could do. I'm going to close all this for now, right? And what I'm going to do is, I have a model. Now I'm going to have to go into the maps for this, right? Because I'm going to have to get the scale to find out how big or small this robot is. Right? So basically we can find out exactly the size of our thing. Now I believe this robot is going to be the same size. Now I don't know where this robot is, to be fair. I don't know where I've saved it. And it's obviously not in there. Let's have a look. That's not it. Environment set's not it. I don't think it's here. I thought it was actually under robot, but it's not. I can only imagine that it's in models. I can only imagine it's either in models or I actually didn't bring it in. That's the product meshes. Now I don't know what these are. Okay, so these are kind of effects, which is cool. Right, so we don't need to worry about them. Although having said that, let's have a look at these, what's actually in these. Oh, that's pretty cool. Might be able to use that. Right. Sci-fi robot, there it is. And this has got a third person controller on it, which is interesting. So this is a third person character that you can actually use. Let's have a look at this. It's got the usual setup. Right. It's got some interesting stuff there that we could actually use. Well, it's the normal stuff. Right. And the question here is, what animations does it have? Animations. Jump, idle, run, jump, jump, nothing. So it's just basic, the usual basic stuff. Right? Nothing really that interesting. So let's have a look at the size. And that's not the mesh. So I'm guessing, yeah, that's our robot. And yeah, it is pretty much the same size. Now the interesting thing is, what is this cloak? Now I'm guessing that we attach it. Now I'm just eyeballing it just now, but I'm guessing that all we do that is attach it, and I'm guessing from that that this robe has got movement on it, that when the robot actually moves, then so is the thing. Just wait for these things to go. Now, what else does this robot have? So you've got messages, textures, and then basically I would imagine this is just the third person controller, etc. This is the mannequin, which is basically the same as the robot. And that's just your basic normal stuff in there. Now, one of the reasons I'm looking at this now, that is a bizarre thing to put on a robot or have as like part of the robot. That's really weird. Now I'm going to start the game here, right? And I wonder Yeah, it's doing its shaders thing. I'm just wondering if this is like a floaty texture thing. That if we move this robot, right, the cape flaps about. That's the thing I'm interested in. And this hasn't got an animation blueprint. I mean, I suppose you could use the third person animation blueprint. Well, I'm just wondering here. Right, hang on a second. Right. Has that got an animation? Has the sci-fi robot got any animation to it? I'm going to guess no. Right, but what I'm going to do is we're going to open this back up, and if we go to here, right, let's see what we've got here. Right, so what we'd actually have to do is create a blueprint class . Actually, we'd probably be able to have to do a character. Right, but we'll make it this just now, and we'll add a skeletal mesh. Right, and our skeletal mesh is going to be this thing here. Then we're going to give them the third person animation blueprint, and I'm just wondering what this is. Right, and he's not really using that. We probably need to set it up so that it should all work, but we obviously haven't got that set up yet. Okay. It does say, we need to put drop. Yeah, well, I'm an idiot, aren't I? So we need to go back. And press play. Now he is still not using that. Let's have a look. Where is he? He is using that. So that's a bit weird. Normally under normal circumstances I would just create my own blueprint for him. So there's that. And I think my wife is returning, so I'm going to have to turn the mic off for a minute or two and grab a cigarette. I'll be back shortly. Okay, so things have calmed down a bit here, and I shall maybe work on that offline. I was trying to think of where the two mannequins were, but then I realised there's one over at the gun turret. So there's that. Which gives me an idea actually. Which gives me a really good idea. Let's do... what did I call that? I can't remember what I called this. So we'll bring that down. And it's this one here. So if we look at the viewport, got our weapon, and dog's losing its crap again. Now, see those beams that we were looking at? They could actually be pretty nice for us. Right? Now, I'm not 100% sure how this is set up. But we're going to have a look. I should probably have just dropped it into the scene as well. To have a look. I mean, it might be a short burst. If we look at the emitter, we should be able to tell. Well, that's the direction, right? It's always on the X. But I'm just wondering, we could set this up. I'm guessing that this is not set up as a starting point and an ending point. So what we could actually do is actually set it up as a start point and end point. This is also a good little tutorial of the way I do things. Sometimes, like, I'll take an asset and then I shall basically adjust it and change it a little bit to make it my own type of thing. Right? So, in effect, the way this is going to fire and I hate when it does that. Right? So we need it to be 90. And that's obviously going to be about there, and about here. Okay, now the interesting thing here is we probably want to duplicate that, and we shall call it FE underscore ray. And then so here is our ray thing, and we can basically switch some of these off. We didn't really want to do that, right? So we'll close that. We're not going to save it, but we are going to open it again. Alright, so it's a module usage, no. So what does this say? Right, so we can dismiss that. Okay. So what we do here is we switch off that. We've got that one switched off, that one, switch off that, and we'll switch off that. Right, and that's kind of not giving us what we want. We want the beam. Right. Now I do believe, yeah, I don't think that beam was on in the first place. Right, we'll close this down. We'll open it back up. And I don't think this is the one that we want. It isn't. Let's have a look at the second one. That is the one we want. Okay. So, look at that scale factor. It's crazy. It's crazy bonkers. Right, so what we'll do is we'll drag in this, right? And we'll change the ray lifetime to 300. Well, that's a bit bizarre. Right, so we're going to have to change that, right? And we need a turret now to get the size we want. Okay, so if we click on this and we drag in, basically we'll drag in this and this. In fact, all we really need is that. And then I think if we check on the turret itself, we can find out what the actual scaling I've used on it is. So I can kind of go BP turret, then go to the graph, then we can delete this, then we can look at the base and it's 5, right? So now we can go back to here. We can scale this to 5. That gives us an idea of the size, right? We can delete this. Then we can rotate this. And we want this to basically fire all the time, right? But we need to get the size of the damn thing first to be about right. So from that point of view, I'm going to say that this emitter scale factor should not be 100, right? We're going to go for 10, 10 and 10. And it's not even going to be that. Let's go for 5, 5 and 5. And even that is too much. We'll change the sprite size to 25, 25. Which is kind of a bit more like it. If we go 10 and 10, that's not changing the size of it's not really changing the size of our thing, no, is it really? We can say loop duration and change it to like 100. Instantaneous, initialized particle. I'm just wondering if this has to go down. And that actually kind of works. It's actually the other way down. This is 0.2. And this would be 0.1. Yep. That's actually pretty cool. Now I wonder if we were to put it here, and then we were to say 1, yeah, it didn't change it. Right? So Now that's pretty cool, but it does need to go down in size a bit. So 0.15. And that to me looks about perfect actually. Right, so we're kind of happy with that. And these were 100, right? RGB. And this is a linear color. Right. So that's the first one done, right? Then we've got this trail. Okay. And this has got like a beam end. So there's a beam start and there's a beam end. We're going to need to turn these into variables. Okay. And the beam width is going to have to come way down. To like that much. So that kind of looks okay. We can turn these two off. Then we can turn this one on. Right? Then we can turn that, and that's still way too big. Right, so that's a different size. Spawn count is fine. And that's fine, but this is way too... For whatever reason that it's using here, this sprite size is not changing things. Right. So we'll turn that one off for now. We'll turn this one on. And this is a little wobbly line again. So if we change this to 5 and this to 5, that's not changing this at all. Now, does this change it? Nope. This is just changing the colour. But it's not changing the sprite size. Mesh scale 0.1. 0.1. I think this was 0.15, I believe. If these two things are at the same scale, which they kind of are, right? So that last one that we did here, as I said, we're going to have to turn beam starts and beam ends off. And this one was okay by the looks of it. Okay, whatever. What we'll do is we'll turn this one off. Right, so we can say like 26. And yeah, that looks okay. If we turn this one on, that's okay. Although I don't like the look of that at the back, although it looks okay. Then if we turn that one on, right, it's this one that's huge, right? Point 0.15, 0.1, and that's looking still a bit too big. 0.1, 0.75, 0.75. Right, so that's a bit weird. And that sprite scaling thing is still rather Oh, that mesh scale should be 0.15. Point 1. 0.1. 0.075. And if we switch them all on, apart from this beam, right, we've actually got one that goes on for too long. Loop duration 5. Right, so that one's okay. So it's this, yeah, it's this one here. Or it's not. Right, well this is interesting. And it looks like this beam has to be on. Right, so there's one of them that doesn't look good. Now, is it that one? Well, who knows? I mean, it looks to me that there's only one of them working. Let's switch this beam back off. So for whatever reason here, this isn't doing what I expect it to do. It kinda was, and then it kinda wasn't. This one is too big. I don't know why. But on that, guys, I'm really just mucking around here, and I've not really thought about what I was going to work on. I've completed the strength thing, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to end the stream here. So if you've enjoyed the stream, hit the subscribe button. We're going to play with this yeah, we're going to play with this beam for a bit off stream, and then I'll let you see where we got with it later. Okay, so bye for now.